All right, welcome to the postgame Carolina Pro Football Report on ADSN. Hey, we've got Shaq Thompson talking to the media right after that loss for the Panthers, 27-24 New Orleans Saints.
There's no reason. We just got to do better. They can't go 100%. We got to get out the field, get our offense the ball back. Early in the ball game, most of the third downs came to third and short, 3rd and 2. Then on the ones on the 3rd and long, we got to convert those. We got to tackle, run our feet, wrap up, and get him down. He has great contact balance. He's one of those backs that slows down right before contact, and that's just hard to get him down. But we'll see him again at the end of the year. It's on us, and we just got to wrap up.
All right, Colin, you got a chance to listen in to Shaq, and what are your thoughts on that?
Man, honestly, Buck, I'm just, I think the one thing that I know is that they're trying to take ownership of the situation. That's the main thing, because those guys are the ones obviously taking the reps on the field. I think the thing about the situation currently is a couple different things got to get addressed, honestly. You got to address the run defense currently. They're just being gashed by every team that they played against this year. You really have to get some things figured out. You got to decide how the scheme is working or not working. You got to decide what to work with, because honestly, I felt like there were too many runs up the middle. I felt like there were just too many opportunities where Kamara was able to gash. And, speaking about what Shaq Thompson is talking about there, you just play the calls that you have. And, those players have to obviously bring those calls to life. And ultimately, I think that a couple of communication issues may have come across with the lack of burst being in the lineup. But ultimately, the defense has to play better.
Yeah, you bring up a really good point. The two things that stuck out to me, and you and I were texting each other during the game, too many guys in the same gaps. And usually when defenders are starting to turn their shoulders to the sideline, as an offensive player, we know we've got you beat. They were going to stretch runs, and they were able to cut back. And sometimes the cutback lanes weren't that big. 29 rush attempts, 138 yards, 4.8 yards per rush for the Saints. The other thing that's mind-blowing with this defense, 12 of 14 on third down conversions. They gave up 85% third down conversions. They picked them apart, whether it was run or pass. They get that corrected. And I agree with you. It almost looks like they know what they want to do, but they're not doing it consistently and playing in their gap integrity throughout the game.
Absolutely. And the thing about the NFL is that these backs have the ability to exploit you no matter what. So you have to be sound gap integrity, like you talk about, but you also have to have guys getting off blocks and have to get out there and make plays. We've seen them make plays in the victories we had this season, but ultimately this was a game, again, with a very good offensive line where they weren't able to get off blocks, weren't able to get separation and make those plays. We had some really good plays, and Burns getting another sack, fumble, and getting the ball back and getting some turnovers. Those things are huge, obviously, in the grand scheme of things, but got to be able to get off the field on third down as well as stop the run. Got to be able to take away the opposing team's offensive running attack.
Yeah, when you look at Kamara, to some of his ability, he reminds me a lot of a guy who I played with, Marshall Faulk, the ability to catch the ball out of the backfield. But they're different backs, but the one thing that Marshall could do was go from 0 to 100 really quickly. Kamara, same thing. And then also, too, never taking a direct shot, either one of them. And I think that's the thing you're going to see with guys like that. You've got to be able to stop them. If you don't, they're just going to gash you time and time again.
Absolutely. I think that's probably the best comparison.
Yeah. I mean, it came out today when we were texting each other. I said, that's like Marshall would do. I mean, that's some of the things that he would do. If you grew up watching them, I played with them, and then watching guys now, we know McCaffrey studied them as well. These young guys now, they can see the factor back, the show on turf. Let's spin it forward for the Panthers. They've got a team that's reeling in the Atlanta Falcons coming in. Offensively, even as poorly as the defense played at times, this offense gave them a chance to make plays. DJ Moore with a huge catch. Robbie Anderson still playing well. The running game didn't really get a chance to take off because they were so far behind. What are your thoughts on the offense and what they can continue to do there?
You know what? I think that the biggest part for the offense for me is the consistency in being able to, work with these receivers. Teddy has a very he's obviously comfortable right now with the receiving core. He's doing a great job of distributing the ball. We saw Zylstra in there getting some plays today. We saw some different names. We had a tight end sack. We saw Ian Thompson make a catch. So, we got to continue to use those weapons. But Teddy's done a great job of being accurate in the pocket, scrambling or moving around in the pocket when need be, taking off and running, which is something I didn't mention in the last show. Teddy's doing a great job of getting out on the perimeter and making plays. We saw him escape a couple of sack attempts today, but obviously, the one to end the game was the worst one, the hardest one to overcome. But he does a fantastic job of being able to work around in the pocket and get himself into position to make plays. And he did that again today, getting out on the edge a couple times and making a couple key throws. One in particular I'm thinking about was the Curtis Samuel on that.
The one where he spins out and throws. Yeah, that was a great play. Yeah.
And I don't think people really understand, and you can speak to this, Buck, more, as a quarterback, having to run to your left, torque your body to the position to be able to throw the ball, across your body. And not to mention he was throwing it, coming from right to left. So it was way, way difficult. But at the end of the day, he did a great job.
Colin, you bring up a good point. The reason I knew Russell Wilson was going to make it in the league when he was at North Carolina State, he had a tendency to do that from his baseball. And they talked about it on air, the ability to be a shortstop or center fielders. Usually those guys are the best athletes in baseball. But the one thing, when Teddy felt that pressure coming, he spins out and he goes over. And you're right, he's going this way and he's throwing back inside. I don't know how he got that over there, but he was able to complete it. And that's generally, you take it as a sack if you're a defender. But then on offense, you make a big play like that, it keeps drives going. And that's the big thing that he's been able to do consistently. Even when they're not running the ball well, he's manufacturing plays. I think people want to say he's a game manager. I think Teddy's really starting to get that rust off and feel more comfortable as we watch him week after week.
Absolutely. And, the thing about with Teddy, after having such a devastating knee injury a couple years ago that put him out for the season, put him back in a position where he obviously had to work back to get back into the league and get back into a groove. He's showing that he's getting more and more confidence every single day. Every single game that I'm seeing him be more and more comfortable. Considering last week was probably his most, his poorest performance of the season, he bounced back this week against a very good Saints defense and really did some great things, getting the ball to DJ Moore, getting the ball to Robbie Anderson, and all the weapons that he has. So I'm excited to see what his team continues to grow to, man. It obviously today was a tough, difficult loss, but offensively, I think that they can play with anybody. And then once CMC comes back, it just adds more depth to running back position. Obviously, you get Mike Davis out there. He's really showing what he can do, and he's really showing that he's got a lot of downhill ability, power ability, and he can make those in space quick movements. So having him as well as CMC on the field, not to mention Curtis Samuel's getting a rushing touchdown today, you have a three-headed monster in your backfield that is really going to cause defenses to really have to scheme and do better. So I'm excited to see once the offense is at full capacity, and then defense comes along, this team still has a very good shot of making the playoffs.
Yeah, and Colin, you give yourself a chance almost with the long field goal. It was like right there. I've been in games, I know you have, where you've seen a field goal kicker make those and when he misses them. What were your thoughts? I was downstairs yelling as that was happening today.
I felt for Joey, man. I'm like, if Joey Slye hits this 65-yard field goal, he goes down in infamy as the longest field goal kick in all time. But consider it was just this close. It was just this.
And the funny thing about it, Tom Dempsey, who was a New Orleans Saints, I didn't know. I know they didn't play in that stadium, but it would have been poetic justice in a sense, right? If he had made that, right? That
would have been insane. That would have been awesome. It would obviously won the game, but ultimately, man, or at least we put him in position to go, as a go-ahead score. But I got to tip my hats to him, because for such a far distance, it was still true. It was right down the middle. Yeah. And we look at these field goal kickers and we're like, man, how do you miss that? That's all you do. You guys, it's like trying to thread a needle with the thread and the needles from back here. You're trying to throw it to get to that needle. It's an impossible thing to do. But for him to get that kick, within yards of being able to make it and come up with the go-ahead score, sucks. But, that's the National Football League, man. And I could honestly say that this team has a weapon as a kicker. And, whenever those times or those situations happen again, I feel very confident that he will definitely be able to step up to the plate and nail it.
He's got a strong leg, and I know if they have another chance of 65 or 66, I'm sure they won't feel any problem calling his number again because his leg is awful strong. Hey, post-game report, Carolina Pro Football Report on ADSN. Check us out next week when we preview the Atlanta Falcons game. We're going to talk about some of the run things, that the gap integrity, but the back door. It's one of those things in the trenches a lot of people don't know about. Colin and I were texting about it today. We're going to really bring that to you next week to really understand why this defense is getting gashed and understand how they stop from that from happening off block. So check us out next week on the Carolina Pro Football Report on ADSN. And we've got a lot of other things. Chopping It Up with Buck. We're on every week. We just bring you great content on adsn1.com. Check us out.